what needs to be looked at. But the Russians have said that the areas from where the weapons are being moved can be targeted if Russia finds it to be necessary. But I want you to also weigh in on how Donald Trump's position on this war has changed from the time that he's assumed the presidency. Do you think Donald Trump is now increasingly, accepting to the fact that probably during the course of these negotiations with Vladimir Putin, he was being played all along about the possibility of a ceasefire, and that he now needs to change his strategy on how he deals with Vladimir Putin?
I absolutely think so. Putin and Trump seem to have a very strong rapport in recent years. They're both strongmen leaders. They both want adoration and to bash the political elite, the liberal elite. And they both don't really care that much about international law and the post-war international order, Bretton Woods institutions, national sovereignty. Of course, Putin invaded Ukraine. Trump has made comments about invading Greenland and Canada. However, Trump likes to win. And it seems like he's realized that Putin was fobbing him off by promising him a ceasefire, but then refusing to actually enact that. And he made one remark on television, which I thought was quite notable, which is that he would say, "Oh, I had a great chat with Vladimir." And then he would go home to his wife, Melania, who is from Slovenia, and said, "Oh, really? They actually bombed another city." So increasingly, Donald Trump seems frustrated. And we have to realize, as all European leaders have realized, especially Mark Rutte, the head of NATO, you have to play to Donald Trump's ego in this world. And I don't think that Donald Trump's ego is going to want or allow Ukraine to continue being bombed while he's being buttered up by Putin. He's got Europeans who are fighting for his attention. We seem to have returned to some kind of pre-modern imperial order here, where regional vassals of the global hegemon are begging for support. But ultimately, I think that they've realized that's what's in their interests.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Jackson, for joining us with that perspective there.
Thanks for having me.
Well, talk of a nuclear response no longer lives in the world of hypotheticals. Russia has drawn its lines the West now edges closer to crossing. Well, as Europe scrambles to arm Ukraine and fractures ripple through the EU, Moscow warns that those who meddle might find themselves not just at the firing line, but in the Armageddon's crosshair. Take a look at this next report for more.
Tensions are rising fast. Russia is sharpening its stance. The warnings are becoming dangerous. European Union is targeting Russian oil. Ratcheting up the nuclear stakes, Moscow has issued its starkest warning yet, asserting that any aggression against Russia by a non-nuclear state, backed or joined by a nuclear power, will now be considered a joint attack, inviting the full wrath of Russia's nuclear doctrine. The Kremlin message is unflinching. Coalitions supporting Ukraine would be a target.
The very first missiles shot down by our air defense systems will allow us to quickly establish where and how they were produced, and most importantly, to accurately name the country of origin. We have already warned about the consequences.
US President Donald Trump on Monday announced a deal where European NATO states to buy US weaponry, particularly advanced Patriot systems, and give it to Kyiv. Along with Patriots, there's also discussions of arming Ukraine with long-range weapons to help it strike deeper inside Russia. Now the EU adopted a sweeping new package of sanctions on Russia over the Ukraine war, looking to pile more pressure on the Kremlin by lowering a price cap for Moscow's oil exports. Moscow downplayed the impact of fresh European Union sanctions on Russia's economy, saying they were illegal and would backfire. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Let's begin with Ukraine. Russia continues to pound Ukraine with its recent drone attack on the Ukrainian port city of Odessa, claiming at least one person. The city's mayor said that Moscow fired more than 20 UAVs from different directions, one of which hit a multi-story apartment building. Russia said its forces struck Ukrainian military sites and claimed more settlements. The Russian army said it controlled 10 settlements in Kharkiv, Donetsk and Zaporizhia. Moreover, the Russian air defenses claimed to have shot down 1,387 Ukrainian drones. Russian Defense Ministry reported that in the past week, the Russian army used air-based high-precision weapons and attacked drones to carry out 5 cluster strikes on Ukrainian military-industrial enterprises, military airports, assembly and storage sites of drones and unmanned boats, and fuel and equipment depots. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that the current battlefront is focused on Pokrovsk and other directions in the Donetsk region, while the situations in the border areas of Sumy and Kharkiv remain severe. Amid the ongoing Russian offensive on Ukrainian cities, the U.S. government has started freeing up Patriot air defense systems to send to Kyiv. The Pentagon has moved Germany ahead of Switzerland to receive the next Patriots. U.S. President Trump has given Russian President Vladimir Putin a deadline of 50 days to negotiate a peace deal or face significant tariffs or sanctions, including on its trading partners. Meanwhile, the first group of 49 decommissioned M1A1 Abrams tanks pledged to Kyiv by Australia are already heading to Ukraine, and I believe they've arrived in Ukraine. The development comes amid reports that Moscow is building 5 secret nuclear bases. Satellite images reviewed by Business Insider show extensive construction of 5 secret facilities shrouded in fences and defended by covered guard posts.
Our next story is about Russia. It is ramping up its nuclear muscle even as it mocks America's threats. According to a report on Business Insider, Russia has been quietly constructing 5 secret nuclear bases, a development that is sure to send chills down the spines of NATO countries and raise fears that Moscow is preparing for a long, drawn-out confrontation with the West. Take a look at this map on your screens right now. It shows the 5 places where these facilities are located. And these are, let me name it for you, Kaliningrad, Kamchatka, Nova Zemlya, Osipovichi, which is in Belarus, and Gadzhikova in Murmansk in the Arctic Circle. And the Kremlin's message is extremely clear. Former President Dmitry Medvedev called US's new Ukraine policy a theatrical ultimatum, and behind the scenes, Russia is busy building up its nuclear infrastructure at breakneck speed. Let's zoom in first to Ospivochi base in Belarus. According to this report, a high security facility is being built here with triple fencing, unloading ramps and rail links for nuclear warhead deliveries. Further north, in Russia's Arctic region of Murmansk, Gadzhikova facility is being built. It is located near the NATO countries of Norway and Finland. And Russia is expanding its naval base home to submarines armed with intercontinental nuclear missiles. And according to this report, Russia is constructing at least 6 new buildings this year alone. In Kaliningrad, Russia's Baltic outpost bordering NATO nations, it is reportedly reinforcing its tactical nuclear storage bunkers with new layers of security. And then, in Kamchatka, on Russia's far eastern edge, satellite images reportedly showed new buildings as well as new fortified nuclear storage sites under construction. And lastly, in Novaya Zemlya in the Arctic, massive new structures and tunnel expansions have been seen, pointing to a major nuclear buildup in the region. Remember now, Russia currently has over 4,300 active nuclear warheads, which is the world's largest stockpile. Meanwhile, the Kremlin is doubling down on its warnings. On Wednesday, spokesperson Dmitry Peskov slammed U.S. arms supplies to Ukraine as a profit-driven enterprise. He also asserted Russia's updated nuclear doctrine, declaring that any attack by non-nuclear state is backed by nuclear power, will be treated as a joint assault. These warnings and reports of secret alleged upgrades come as the U.S. president threatens fresh tariffs against Russia as well as arms sales to Ukraine, raising fears that the Kremlin's nuclear saber rattling could be more than just mere rhetoric.
All right, so let's start with some breaking news that has just come in, where Russia has begun